Good morning. Today we're going to do a video on why my Sportster leaks gas and how to remedy it. With that, we're using an 05 XL 1200. We'll go through the overflow tube, the float needle valve, the accelerator pump, and the carb inlet fuel fitting. Those are usually the most common sources of fuel leaks on Sportsters. So with that, let's get started. And if you could, I have all the tools and things needed are in the description box. Hit show more for the Amazon links for the parts to do this job. Thank you. Like I was stating, this overflow hose comes from the bottom of the carburetor float bowl. It gets overwhelmed with fuel when the needle valve fails. So with that, I'm going to take the breather off and let's take a look at it. It really is not a difficult fix. Let's take the cover off. All right, I'm going to put that aside. Now we're going to take this cover off. All right. Loosen them up. Make sure they're all loose. This is a stage 2 filter kit. They're a little different. It's good with this type. Usually a normal setup don't have that. All right, this is a 9/16. These are your vent tubes. I will write down all the tools needed in the description. It's that simple. All right, here's your float bowl. Here's that overflow tube that slides up here and into your filter. On the older models, they'll go to the back, right under your starter. First thing to check is if you have any leaks from this inlet. Usually on the older bikes, this will be a vinyl with the brass on these inlets. And it'll be such a slight leak that you don't notice. It's a hairline crack. And it'll just drip, drip, and it'll give the appearance that it's a fuel line or the carburetor. So if you have this vinyl inlet, replace it. I will show you in a few minutes how easy this is to replace. It's a machine fit, so don't let it get you. It's an easy fix, and it's only about 10 bucks. Now over here is your accelerator pump nozzle. With that, let's just twist the throttle and see if you see a stream. I hope you can see that. So you know the accelerator pump's working, and that's fine. Now to take a look at, is the accelerator pump leaking? Sometimes these screws will loosen and create a leak. Now that we see the accelerator pump nozzle is working, this is the pump and the diaphragm. Sometimes this will start to leak because these screws are loose. There's 3 Phillips heads under there, and then there's a diaphragm in there. So what I'd like to do is just to check that they're tight, and it's squirting gas, so the diaphragm is good. So we take that off the list. We took off the list the inlet. So the next thing to check inside this float bowl is your float and the float needle valve. With that, I have another carburetor which I will show you on. All right, this is the demonstration. Like I said, that's our accelerator pump needle. I like using this impact. It squarely gets in there with a nice sharp, and just check that that pump is tight. Beautiful. Now, like I said, we know this isn't leaking. It's pumping fuel, and there's no leaks there. A popular spot is this fuel inlet. Okay, now that's pressure fitted in there. If it's vinyl, there's a good chance you will be replacing it. You could buy these online for $8. Now, it's pressure fitted. If you take a pair of pliers, you see how that moved? Now, if you go back and forth, you could get that out. It'll take a little working. I've done a few of them. They do come out. And then the new one you buy, you'll put in your put it in your freezer overnight, and that will shrink it, and it will go in easier. And all you do is put it in, tap, 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 take a hammer, slight tap, and before you know it, it's all in. And that's how you resolve that leak. Now, the major leak for the overflow hose, we're going to go look at that right now. All right, so with this Phillips head torque screwdriver, you could get these squarely. Make sure you're square on this stuff. You don't want to strip it. Okay. There we go. There's the 4 screws. Now remember, this is your accelerator pump. Now as I drop this down, you're going to see this rod. A lot of times people don't notice this rod, and it falls out to the floor and gone. I've noticed this to be a problem. Okay, now we flip it over. Now here's our float, our main, our idle, and here's where that needle valve. All right, you're going to see, if you look close, there'll be an arrow. That's the way it goes in. So the way it comes out is push on that side, and if you got it right, it'll slide right out. If you're going the wrong way, there'll be a lot of pressure. That goes to the side. Now let's slide this up. This is your float needle. A lot of times the rubber on there, from the fuel that's used today, this will get degraded. I advise when you have a leak coming from that hose, this will be the culprit. All you do is slide it, and there she is. You could buy a new one for $20 because you really, I mean, you could try, rule of thumb, try one time to clean this and clean the seat, and if it works, God bless. And to clean it, just make sure there's no residue, get carb cleaner. Don't get crazy, and there you go. Put that aside. Now here's the other side of it. Like I said, this carburetor had other problems, so I just bought a new carburetor for the bike that this came off of. So to clean this, get carb cleaner, a Q-tip, and blow air in and out. Try to clean it. Sometimes some people will take a little compound, brass cleaner, and just clean it. Just spin this thing. You could break this, put it on a drill, spin it up in there. Just make sure you got a little compound on this. Spin it up, clean it, and all is well. Do not bend the tab. there you go. Like I said, there's your arrow. It'll go in this way. And it should be free. Inspect it. Everything's freely moving. A lot of times, like I said, here's the arrow. With a straight, it should move pretty freely. Put it aside. Another thing you want to check. You'll see that little tab. This is spring loaded. Make sure it goes up and down freely. If that does not go up and down, that will cause a gas leak through that overflow hose. Take it, delicately put it together. It will just fit in there. Do not bend that. Do not bend this tab. Now we slide that in. So as you see, we put the pin in through this side. We take it out through that side. Okay, beautiful. All right, now we'll take this linkage, slide it into. What you want to do is get the linkage first. Get the linkage first, then the accelerator pump, and evenly, your little rubber seal. It'll kind of get in your way, but just work it. And there you go. Take your screws, your little Phillips heads. Start it with the screwdriver. Now we'll start it with the Phillips. Just hand tighten. Corner to corner. The one by the accelerator pump, that's the one that gets a little funny because you really can't get a big Phillips head on it. Now with that, I got my little impact. Let's try these first. That's the accelerator pump. That's tight. Now we'll go for the carburetor. And you don't got to go crazy. There's a rubber seal on this. If everything is what it's supposed to be, your gas level gets no higher than about right there. If it's getting above here, there's something wrong with that needle jet for the float. But otherwise, these carburetors are the same for most. No, they are the same for all Harley carbureted bikes. Might be a different size, different jets, but standard Harley Davidson. As you could tell, this says Harley Davidson on it. You like to keep this one before buying a new one, but sometimes you just have to. All right. Here's our overflow hose. 04s, they're in the front. 03s and older, they're in the back. So just take it right by your oil filter, thread it through, nice and neat. that. Check for any gas leaks. Right now you have it at this point. Hit the choke, turn the key, make sure she's in neutral. Now, if that needle jet fails, you'll start to see gas on the floor. And buy a new one. I only give it one shot. After that, I'm not going to let it drive me crazy. There's a good chance the rubber on it has failed. So, buy a new one, save yourself some headaches. With that, let's put this together. Hand start, and you can never get in trouble. Have any questions, just ask. Some of the stuff might look like it could be a pain, but believe me when I tell you, you'll have no problems. Take your time. What happens is people use the wrong size. Sometimes Harley can be a little tricky. Never get hurt when your hands start. Like I said, with these stage 2s, you can see it's an open breather. If there was a problem, like I said, by now there'd be gas on the floor. Usually, my experience is 7 out of 10, you could clean that needle jet and everything will be all right. But there's always that 3 that will give you a problem. And sometimes you'll wish I just should have bought a new one, because you get tempted to go back in there again and try. With that, if you have any questions, just ask. And in the description, you will see the tools and the parts needed to do this service. It's in the show more. There will be an Amazon link to get your parts. Thank you. Ride safe. And if you can, leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up, and have a great day.